Alright guys, so today is Friday. We only have 4 more days left to get the KTM ready for Colorado. So far we've installed both the clutch cover and ignition cover. We put the new pipe guard on. We just put the swing arm guards on and the skid plate underneath. I'm gonna wait to put these rotor guards on there until we change the tires, because I don't know if any of you noticed, but currently there's some dual sport tires on there right now. And if you stay tuned for a future video, that will all make sense. But right now, what's on the list is to get the radiator guards and fan installed. So I'm hoping in the next hour or so that we can knock that out, because other than changing the tires, that's honestly probably gonna be the most tedious part about this, just because you have to take the fairings off, this, that, and the other. But let's go ahead and open these boxes up and see what we got. Woo! I like those. Man, those look nice. Up next we got our fan kit, and the reason why I went with the TUSK was because it was cheaper and it had really good reviews. So essentially it's going to do exactly the same thing as some of the more expensive options. So why not save a buck? Looks pretty damn good quality to me. First on the list, we got to get these fairings and seat removed. Now we can finally get rid of these plastic guards. Thankfully, by the grace of God, these things aren't bent yet. I'm pretty surprised. It's taken a few good falls. It looks like we're gonna have to take the tank off to put the fan on. At least that's what the directions say. Looks like just 1 8mm down the middle here. Yum. And now we have a naked KTM. So this side should be easy enough. Just gonna put this in position and use the hardware that was included in the kit. I did put Loctite on these. Bada boom. Man, those things look awesome on there. Now they give you these quote-unquote self-tapping fasteners that you use for these points here. Had to bring out the power tools to get it started, but we finally got the thread started, and I'm gonna tighten them up by hand. You don't wanna over-tighten them. Trust me on that. Now we'll head back to the front and snug these up. All done. I'm actually really happy with those things. Side impacts, like, oh yeah. I didn't think it would help that much with the side impacts because they aren't braced from behind, but that's plenty. Heck yeah, I'm pumped. In order to install the fan, we're gonna have to take this radiator off so we can access the back side of it. The drain bolt is right here, conveniently behind this skid plate, so I had to loosen everything up here so I can get this bent down. And I'm gonna try to get in here with this funnel and funnel all the coolant into this container. Let's see how big of a mess we can make. Not much should drain until I get the top off that radiator. Woo, that bolt is way longer than I expected. Let's go ahead and crack the top on the radiator, and oh, we got a squirter. And this is working perfectly with minimal mess. It's even orange too. Go ahead and put this bolt back in for the time being. Number 2. Number 3. This radiator should pop off. Woo! Alright guys, so I got the radiator out. Let's kind of get this thing mocked up. So this thing needs to sit right in the middle so it works with the radiator guards. And let's go ahead and get all the hardware. Torx button head screws. And that's what we're going to be installing. We're going to have one here, one here. Get those threads started. There it goes. Flip it over. So these torque screws actually self-tap themselves into the side of the radiator. Don't over tighten them or you'll strip out the threads. But the placement of your fan needs to be directly in the middle, or if you have an oversized tank, you just have to make adjustments as needed. But for me, with these guards, this needs to be in the middle. The fan needs to be in the middle because it all works out pretty damn good. So we're actually gonna be able to use all 4 of the mounting points. For some reason, I thought they would just slide right down into the plastic, but it seems to have worked out in my favor. Heck yeah, I'm super stoked on that, man. We got those in good. For some reason, I thought the threads were gonna be too small and it was just gonna slide right down into the plastic piece, but it ended up threading into the plastic itself, so it worked out perfect. So this right here is the temperature probe. This is what senses when your bike gets hot and it lets the fan know when it's time to kick on. Now you can adjust the temperature. This one comes set at 190 degrees and I think I'm gonna kick it back to like 180. And included in the kit is some thermal compound, which you're gonna wanna pick where you wanna place your probe. Fill the fin full of thermal compound, stick this down in here. You can safety wire it if need be. I'm gonna go ahead and do this now. You can do it on the bike as well, but I figured it'd be easier to show you guys. And I like right there. We're gonna fill this thing up. I think it said use about half. Stick our probe down in there. Oh yeah. That ain't going nowhere. That felt solid. And then boom, we can just attach it to the harness here. And we should be good. I like that. All right, now we can get this thing back on the bike, start reconnecting stuff. Man, I cannot get over how good this setup looks. Tighten this guy up. And now it is time to install the other radiator guard. Heck yeah, this is gonna be an awesome fit. All right guys, it's wiring time. Let the time lapse begin. And we have a reading. Everything is hooked up. All the wiring's tidied up. I don't think this install could have came out any cleaner. I'm really happy with it. She's hooked up to the battery. I zip tied all the connectors together and it just fit perfectly in here. And I just ran the cables along with the other cables to the computer. And my only complaint with that kit is I feel like they could have used a lot smaller connectors because I ended up having like a pretty big ball of them. I could have dispersed them out a little bit, but that's my only complaint. Other than that, the kit installed flawlessly. But this thing looks pretty sad right now, so let's start making it look like a bike again. Well, it is finally time for the first start after installing the fan. I'm gonna go ahead and burp the system, make sure there's no bubbles in the coolant lines. So yeah, we're gonna give her some fuel. Holy shit. Might help to hook up the gas line. Alright guys, this is the first time that I'm actually going to be able to test out the fan. I'm getting it up to temperature right now. I have it set to 180 degrees, so let's see how it does. Well, needless to say, the fan install was a success. This thing cools it down rapidly, and I'm super happy with the results. As most of you know, I did end up going to Colorado, so we put the fan to good use and everything else on the bike. But stay tuned for some awesome content. That's going to wrap up part 2 of the KTM Colorado Rock build. And let me ask you this, if you were planning a similar trip, what would you put on your bike? But there will be one last video in this bike build series, and it's a good one, so make sure you don't miss it. It definitely feels good to be back. The trip was a success. And until Wednesday's video, we'll see you then.